The Good Vibrations podcast is made possible by sponsorship from the Phoenix Light Foundation. Visit thephoenixlightfoundation.co.nz for more information.
Hello and welcome to Good Vibrations. I'm Phyllis Brown, and many thanks for your feedback on last week's show, which was about the 7-year itch, that time where people are making choices or when they feel they need to make choices. And it's really got people thinking about where they were 7 years ago and how they've changed. So thank you so much for the feedback. And it's really cool just to know that you're out there listening and that you're getting some really good nurturing and inspiration from the shows. So this week we are going to look at empowerment and a really amazing tool called Strength Finder. I have to say I'm just addicted to my Strength Finder, and I really found Strength Finder through this really inspirational woman, Sharon Woodings. Actually, the most inspirational woman I've found in a long time. I have to say, you've had me bouncing around, Sharon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I think you've just made me open myself up to me. I think I've been shut down a little bit. Yeah.
Excellent.
So Sharon, I want you just to tell people a little bit about yourself first, and a little bit about your journey and just all the different connections that you've got, because you've got a really fascinating background.
Oh, Phyllis. I love helping people help themselves, basically. And so over the years, I am a great observer of people. I watch people and I take little bits and pieces from people that I need that I think will be helpful for other people later.
Yeah.
And I look for tools that will help people be the best they can be. So it's not my journey, it's their journey, and I know that, but sometimes people get stuck. And if I can help unstick them, that's awesome.
So what do you think, and I've got a question here about who's been an inspiration for you in terms of your own personal growth, so we'll look at that just in a moment, but is there a key time in your life that you thought, was there a key point in your life where you thought, I really want to help people? Were you a change in your life, or was it a slow development for you? Was it just a natural skill that you've then honed?
I think it's been an ongoing thing. I'm an only child.
Right.
And so there were times when I didn't have other kids around. And so I just observed. And through all that time, I just saw a lot of people that were not happy.
Right.
And I still see a lot of people that are not happy. And sometimes it's partly about themselves and where they're at and that they feel stuck. And I just always thought, life's got to be better than that.
Right.
And so when I saw people who I thought had a little bit of that, life is better than that, I'd grab that, and I just collected on the way, really.
Yeah.
But being able to listen to people and being able to, I just have, one of my strengths is individualisation, and I have an ability to get to people. I don't need to totally understand them, but they feel comfortable with me and I feel comfortable with them, which actually is a blessing for me in what I do. But it allows them to talk to me about things sometimes I don't want to know, but they talk to me about all sorts of things.
Yeah. And so when it comes to inspirational people, because I think that's what you do, I think that's what you are really, really good at, is inspiring people to think about themselves. So who would be a person that's really inspired you, whether it be a famous person or a historic person? Where do you get your inspiration from? Not just your clients, but on that bigger picture stuff.
Probably as a teenager, I met a lady called Lynn Parker, she was then, now Lynn Gunson, and she opened my eyes to looking at things with different lenses.
Okay.
And from there, I just rocketed in all directions. But also looking at people, world leaders, who just have that little bit extra. You know, I have people on my Twitter feed that just interest me. And so I feel like by watching them on Twitter, I can start to understand them a little bit more.
Right.
So people like Barack Obama, Richard Branson, people who are a little bit different, I like quirky, I like different. My children tell me I'm weird all the time, and I say, that's okay, we all are, darling.
Yeah. It's good to be weird.
Well, weird is great. It's a great place to be. And so I've honestly never had that person I look up to.
Yeah.
I've been more selective about pulling bits from different people to help me form who I want to be.
Yeah.
But my family does call me Pollyanna.
Right.
And I do tend to see, you know, when somebody sees weeds, I see daisies.
Yeah.
But I just think the world can be a better place. And I think if with the skills I've got, I can help people in the area I'm in my area of influence, and other people are doing the same thing somewhere else, that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to your skill set and it comes to, I want to use the word empowerment because having literally just finished our leadership qualification today, you know, in that empowerment, I certainly felt more empowered by that. I certainly found aspects of myself. So when it comes to empowering people, what would be your key process in that? Is it you telling them? Is it them finding it themselves? Is it you pointing them in the right direction? The word empowerment, I think, is really you to a T, but I would like you to give me your take on what that word means for you.
So for me, it's understanding it's their journey.
Yeah.
Asking lots of questions. Being patient enough when they're not going fast enough for my liking to keep telling me it's their journey.
Yeah.
And having a bit of fun about it.
Yeah.
So when people find something about themselves and they embrace it, have a laugh about it. It's who we are. We've all got good and bad things. But I think it's really important not to tell people. And sometimes to be able to walk away and go, actually, they're not ready yet. That's okay. Because at some time they might be. Okay. And if I feel they really need to contemplate it, all I'll do is leave it with a question. Because questions are a great opening to your mind and they come back. Something will happen and somebody has said, come back to me later and said, I thought about that thing you said. And I'll say, you know, I can't remember, what did I say? You asked me about this and I really didn't know where you were getting at, but now this has happened and I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that's just nuggets of gold.
Yeah.
You know, that, I mean, I don't care about money.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff for me is nugget of gold. And I love it.
Yeah.
You know, to see somebody to blossom or to feel good about themselves and go off and do things and maybe never talk to me again.
Yeah.
That to me is a huge success. I just absolutely love it from the inside of me. It's great.
Can you think of anyone just recently that, obviously not naming names, but that maybe come to you feeling a little bit confused or a little bit lost, maybe disempowered actually? Just anyone just sort of recently where you've had that process and you've watched them flow and become somebody different. Is there anyone that just comes to mind, do you think?
Yes, I can think of somebody who's actually in this room at the moment.
Yeah.
And just using Strength Finder as a tool, being able to show somebody what was possible by asking questions. So allowing that person to think and then just watching that person launch. And you just sit back and it's just great.
Awesome. So we've actually mentioned Strength Finder a couple of times. So I want you to just explain to the listener what Strength Finder is, and then just maybe how you got on to using that as a tool. I think it's an amazing tool. Just explain what Strength Finder is for those who may not know what it is.
Okay, so Strength Finder comes from Gallup research. Gallup's in America. They're a big company who just do research. And it's actually Clifton Strength Finder is the whole name of it. And the idea is you have 34 strengths, but 10 of them tend to pop up to the top.
Yeah.
And through a process which I absolutely love, because you don't tell people what they are, they get their report, and then you just ask them a series of questions and they go, oh, doesn't everyone like that? I've always thought that.
Yeah.
And you go, no, not everyone does think that.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's such a surprise, A, for about themselves, but B, about the fact that not everyone does. So for me, I have always believed that everything in the universe is connected. Have always believed that. And actually as early 20s at university, had a lot of time where, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I had a lot of soul searching around the world's too big, I can't affect it, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And until I could actually realise that if, from my perspective, if I could sort this and there was a ripple effect, that was okay. Now I know that that connects to my connectedness. When I realised that other people didn't have that, it was like, really? You know, so it allows us to find things that we actually know about ourselves and then consciously use it every day. So when you're having a bit of a down day, you can look at your strengths and go, what aren't I playing to today? And it pulls you out of it. So you empower yourself. Which is great. And I found it because years ago I did a thing called Belbin team profiling, which is based around the positive attributes you bring to a team situation. And I heard about the strength finder on the side, and I always said, one day I'm going to do that. One day I'm going to do that. So about a year and a half ago, I decided this was the time I was going to do it. And you know what? It's a great tool, but for me, it's been an amazing journey so far, and I just can't wait to see where it takes me.
And so if someone was to come to you for their Strength Finder test or program, what's involved for them, so that if sort of time-wise or a process, what's involved?
So initially we do the top 5, because to be honest, the top 10 are too much to grasp at once. So I try to say to people, let's start with your top 5 and last for as long as you can before you are driven crazy and want to know what the other 5 are. And then I buy a code from America for you. You log into that, and then that's yours. So you can always log in, you can buy more strengths, you can do whatever you like with that. Then there's an online process which takes approximately 40 minutes. You do need to find somewhere quiet to do it, because if somebody disturbs you, you lose your where you're at. And then, you can just leave it at that. In fact, you could go online and buy these yourself. But to me, if you do that, it will be like a horoscope out of the newspaper. I think the gem of this process is that you have the coaching after you've seen your report. And I think the coaching brings out so many things. I mean, I love talking to you about, I can't remember which strength it was, but about...
They're up there.
Did you have trouble sleeping? And you said, no. And I thought, really? So I said, did you ever have trouble sleeping? And then you went, oh, yes. I used to have heaps of trouble sleeping. And then you told me the great process over life that you had put in place so that you could sleep.
And that's because my first strength is
intellection.
I can't even pronounce it.
Intellection.
And so for a busy mind, I think all the time. In fact, I suppose I overthink things in terms of people will say something to me and I'm still thinking about that, 10 days later, because I've got to process the process and I've got to really make sure that I've understood cognitively what it is that they were actually saying. So for me, my go-to tool is, regardless of what time it is, I watch my 3 funny programs, and they're mindless. It could be Friends, it could be Fraser, it's How I Met Your Mother, it could be anything. Just that 20-minute slot, or 3 times over, that defrags my mind. And I think because it's so passive and I don't have to think about it, I just listen to what they're saying. I then go to bed and I literally, my head hits the pillow. Whereas if I watch something that gets me thinking, then I then continue that into my bed, if that makes sense.
And that's showing that you're using it with character. So that means now you're using it in a way that's good for other people because you're thinking through the process. But it's also good for you because at night you've learned a way to turn it down. so that you can sleep, because
Yeah.
we actually do need sleep.
We do need sleep, and I think it's one of the key things. I think obviously if you're sharing your room and you're restlessly mulling things over, then that obviously then has that knock-on effect to your partner as well, and they don't get a good night's sleep either. Yeah.
And I love the concept around Strength Finder, because I believe in humanity, but I believe sometimes humanity doesn't use all the tools available to them to be the best they can be. And I think as knowledge is everywhere and we can grasp it, if we don't have our best humanity showing, then that's not a good place to be.
Do you think there's an age limit for this? Do you think if you were not a young teenager, but in that sort of 18 to sort of 20-year-old who doesn't know how they think or doesn't know what their strengths are, they've come out of school and they've got all these different processes, do you think Strength Finder is a benefit for them, for the more adult world, or do they need to have more life experience?
Well, you can actually do 3 different levels. So you can do it for little kids.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
True.
Yep. And then you can do it for teenagers.
Right.
And then you can do it for adults. And when I started, I did it with the intention to work with teenagers.
Right.
But found that in Christchurch there's a lot of people working with teenagers.
Right.
So I worked with a few adults and thought, actually, this is where I fit.
Yeah.
Because there's so many lovely, wonderful adults out there who, they're hard on themselves.
Yeah.
And they can't see what's in there that could just come out and blossom.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the process, I will often ask people, how are you feeling about yourself? And they'll say, I feel blooming awesome.
Yeah.
Or, I'm pretty good, really, aren't I? And I go, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Now remember that feeling and keep working on it.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. So we've got our beautiful audience with us here today, Sharon. And we'll maybe just see if anyone has a question. Does anyone have a question for Sharon?
I have done the Strength Finder with Sharon, and for me personally, if you are listening out there, this will be the best money you've spent in a long time. I can't reiterate that enough. The impact and change it has had on me in my personal life and my work life is huge. The time spent with Sharon afterwards developing a plan, which when we finished was like, oh my God, if that ever happens to me, how incredible is that? And that it has happened is unbelievable. It's mind-blowing. The strengths, did I know I had them? Probably. Did I know how they affected other people? Absolutely not.
No.
Do I understand how to turn it up and turn it down now? For sure. So, yeah, I've only done the 5 because actually for me I'm not ready for the rest. I'm happy to utilise those 5 and the best that I can be with those 5. But yeah, I encourage you to spend some time with this woman. Absolutely.
Do you think the key things, Shelley, is that now that you know your strengths, that you can play to your strengths more? I don't know what I mean by that, but it's like now that you know where your key cognitive processes lie, you can pull them in as and when you need them.
Absolutely. I think at the time when I met Sharon was probably at quite a low in my life. I was wondering what to do next and where to go, and did I actually deserve anything? And so, yes, absolutely. Do I play to my strengths all the time? Do I know that I'm super positive? Absolutely. Do I need to turn that down for some people? For sure.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I was aware of, but I would have never adjusted to my audience before.
Okay.
And see, we didn't know each other
No, we didn't.
when I did your strengths.
No.
And I look at you now after just finishing the leadership course, and I'm quite in awe of what you can do.
Thank you. That's awesome.
So if I've been part of that journey and helped you on that journey, bringing out the things that you needed to go on that journey, I'm very privileged.
Oh, you absolutely did. In fact, I met Sharon at a networking thing of Maria's, who's going to be a guest, and she happened to sit at my table. I was there as a guest at this session, and she said about this thing, and that there were so many free seats is what she said to me, and I said, oh, that looks exactly like what I need, and that's how we met.
Yeah.
And now you have done it. I
have.
believe Nathan's done it.
Yeah.
And the people sitting on the leadership course with us, there's, like Sharon said, there's a connected universe there. I met you at the perfect time of my life. I needed you to be there, as have the other people sitting in this room. So thanks from the bottom of my heart. And if you're listening out there and you're feeling like I felt, then you should look this lady up.
Oh, thanks, Shelley.
Beautiful. Any other questions for the audience? Yes.
How do you help someone who maybe does Strength Finder and maybe doesn't like the result that they see?
I try and get them to come to the coaching, because to be honest, when I did my top 10, I went, oh, I don't like that one. And then when I actually reflected on it and looked at it, I went, yeah, you do that. But coupled with this and this, so your strengths work together. Yeah. So if I couple my includer with my woo, it's okay, I can cope with that. But if people just do the Strength Finder and it becomes like a horoscope in the newspaper, you can't help that. I would always try and say, come to a coaching, because I think the coaching's where the magic happens. The coaching's where the person explores. They think you're going to tell them everything, but that's not, you know yourself. It's all about you knowing yourself already. All we're doing is asking you questions to bring it into your conscious so that you can use it regularly. Great question.
Yeah, cool. So we've got people out there who would maybe be interested in maybe discussing Strength Finder with you, or being able to book in with you. So how do people find you, Sharon? What's your contact details?
On Facebook.
Yep.
Got a very active Facebook page, Blue Mercury Leadership.
Yep.
And my website, which is also Blue Mercury Leadership, it's getting changed at the moment. So if it goes offline, don't be freaked out. Just come onto my Facebook page, because I'm 100% responsive, apparently.
All right. Social media diva.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in and just sharing just some helpful, inspirational words for people who are maybe just a little bit lost, or they don't know where their strengths lie, or even if they have any strengths. And I think empowering people to help themselves, I think that's what you do really, really, really well, both from a personal experience, but also from meeting people who you've impacted positively as well. So I just think you're an absolute gem. I think you sort of live up to the strapline of, I'm going to say ordinary people, inspiring lives, ordinary people with inspiring stories. I think that's definitely who you are. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, what I've got for our message today, which I'll get Sharon's thoughts on, is my little poster, and it says, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. So what does that mean for you, Sharon?
It means that if we're in a good space, the world looks wonderful. If we are not in a good space, then hey, everything we see in the world will remind us of the bad space we're in.
Yeah.
The great thing is, we can actually control that.
Yeah.
And if people are listening out there, you can control that. You are not caught in that cycle. You can control it. Sometimes you just need a little bit of help to open the door.
Yeah. I just thought that saying really just summed up our show today. So just superb. So that's us for today's episode of Good Vibrations. Next week we'll have Shelley Dixon coming in, and she's going to talk about dealing with life changes, either up or down, and manifesting her dream job. So for those of you who are always looking for your dream job and don't know how do you do it, or is it out there, is it even possible, then it's a show that really you should be tuning into. If you'd like to find out more about who we are at Good Vibrations, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook and the website, Phyllis Brown NZ. And remember to subscribe to the podcast and spread the light. Share our link with as many people as you possibly can so we can really get that good vibrations out there. That's all from us here in New Zealand. Take care for now.
This podcast was brought to you by the Phoenix Light Foundation. For personal development courses, visit thephoenixlightfoundation.co.nz and use the code PHOENIX50 for 50% off all courses.